Good afternoon and welcome to the Living Well program. You can find us here every Wednesday at 1 p.m. on KATV 89.3 in Anchorage, as well as KJLP 88.9 in Palmer. You can also catch us online at katv.org. My name is Cammie, and I am here with my co-host Betty. How you doing today, Betty?
Well, Cammie, are you?
Excellent. Ready to rock and roll here today. We are so excited to have in the studio with us today Heidi, the director with Family Life and Weekend to Remember, and she is going to share us all of the 411 on this awesome event that's coming right here to Anchorage. Heidi, why don't you just take a minute and tell our audience a little bit about yourself?
Oh, all inclusive. So Heidi Ober is my name. My husband and I are the directors for the state conference here in Alaska. We're volunteer directors. Hoping to share a little bit more of how we came to that spot, but super excited. I am a mother. I have 3 beautiful little girls, 9, 9, and 7. I'm full-time working mom, wife, and try to do all the other extracurriculars and such. So just happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Glad to have you. So tell us a little bit, what is your role in this ministry or organization?
Yeah, you bet. So as directors, our role is obviously getting folks to the conference. How do we do that? Various outlets. We have a local team of folks who are awesome, a majority of which come from various churches that have previously attended the conference and just seen the impact and gotten involved. But we came to it, one, just because my husband and I attended in 2009. We got involved. Served on the local team for a couple of years and then said, hey, this is what God wants us to do, and had the opportunity to be directors, and so stepped into that role. So here we are.
And what's the name of the conference again?
It's the Weekend to Remember. So it's off of Family Life is the proprietary of the company, nonprofit rather, that started the organization.
And when is it?
So it's April 22nd through the 24th. And that's here in Anchorage. Of course, there's conferences all over the place, but the one here in Anchorage is during that time frame.
And where is it held?
It's at the downtown Anchorage Marriott. So right off of 5th or 6th there, off to the left. Nice view of the inlet. Great spot.
So you might have already touched on this a little bit, Heidi, but how did you come to be a part of the Weekend to Remember ministry?
So cool story, testimony really for us. My husband and I had been best friends. We met each other actually in middle school and dated throughout the course. I wasn't allowed to date till I was 16. So we were friends prior to and just really felt that this is what God had in store for us in terms of marriage and whatnot. My folks had been married, 35 years. My grandparents, 50 plus. A little bit different marriage modeling for my husband, unfortunately. And so kind of our dynamic as we entered into marriage was really difficult. First couple years there was some things happening where we just weren't in a good spot. And so I was very, we'll say, bitter and angry and just frustrated with things were going. Him likewise. Some things that were happening were really destroying just our basis, our foundation for marriage. Even though we had done the counseling, we had started our marriage off with going to the marriage courses and counseling and such. So we really felt like we had a good platform, but 2 years in and we're like at each other's throats. And, I always believed just because I had such a good legacy with my folks is that marriage is for better, for worse, no matter what. So divorce was not an option. And so we're trying to think of other things that we can do. And we kind of just got to a point where I'm sitting on the bed a week before the conference, and I know this is what I want to do. And I just said, God, I have tried to change him. I have tried to do this. I have tried to do that. We've tried counseling. We've tried this, and all those things I kind of put into context. If you can see a virtual quotations is I tried to do all these things. And at that point, I literally hands in the air on the bed, like, God, I give up. It's your turn. I'm out. So I actually made Ryan quit his job. We were supposed to go to the conference. Some scheduling things came up at work. And I said, no, we need to go. I really felt like we needed to be there. So he quit his job. The next day we went to the conference. There's several sessions that take place, one of which is a men and women session there in the morning on Sunday. And during that point, Ryan accepted Christ. And he had been in the church for years. And here we are thinking, oh, great, we got this beautiful foundation for marriage. And he just got hit with a 2x4, and he'll tell you that. He said that God just met him right there. And so we get out of these sessions, and here I am being preached at as well, having selfless love for my husband, being respectful to my husband, not withholding any of those things. I was convicted, and here I'm thinking, oh, God, change Ryan. And then I'm getting hit. So we get out of this session and I'm walking out of the doors and Ryan's coming out of the other side and he grabs my arm and he just starts running. And I'm like, what is happening? So we get up to the elevator. He goes into our room and he hits the floor. And no kidding, he is weeping. And I am just like, oh my gosh, what just happened in that room? And he just starts going over all the things, all the hurts, all the bitterness that I had held for so long. Even I say so long, I mean 3 or 4 years in our marriage. And he's just, I'm sorry. And God just, man, he rocked it. It was so, so cool. Again, I was trying to change everything, but it took that God moment. And he took Ryan's heart and we've never been the same. And here we are talking about it last night too, and he's crying again. I'm like, stop it. He doesn't usually cry, but I'm doing the same thing. So it's just cool. I mean, and that's kind of where obviously our platform has been then. It's self-testimony and basics, but it's there.
So was he receptive to wanting to go initially?
He'll tell you I dragged him.
Okay.
He did. And like I said, I made him quit his job. I you hear the expression, where's the skirt, where's the pants? I wear some of the pants. And that's where we struggled very early on in the marriage. So I was like, nope, we're going. And then come to find out, obviously that's not where I wanted to be. So yes, I did drag him, but he will tell you that it was so worth it.
Mm-hmm. So that's definitely a huge takeaway from the conference for you, and definitely has been a part of your testimony. But what would you say just in general? What can couples expect to take away from attending this conference?
All the above. I mean, like I said, we had done the biblical counseling prior to our marriage. We had gone to several counseling sessions with pastoral staff as well as, outside of like say Corner Center or whatnot. And we just didn't feel like we had connected at that level yet. We didn't get that getaway or what have you. We didn't take our honeymoon. And so going to the conference was all inclusive of that. We got a biblical blueprint for marriage. Couples can take away the fact that there's learning to fight fair. Obviously, there's an opportunity to get away from everything that's happening, be that kids or jobs or what have you. There's the opportunity to learn to just connect on a more of an intimate level, the oneness, both spiritually, physically, emotionally, all the above, and really just reconnect on those things that are basic, what you would assume would be basic principles for marriage. Sometimes we just get lost in the mix.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm taking it from what you have said that you would highly recommend the Weekend to Remember for
would.
any married couple.
I would, yep.
But it doesn't have to be just for married couples that are engaged to be married.
You bet.
They also have classes for them, correct?
We do, yep. There's breakout sessions throughout the conference, some of which are for the pre-married, soon to be married if you would have it, as well as there's military emphasis in the conference as well. And it's kind of nice because as you go out through the year, I mean, Ryan had been going now since 2009, and each year there's something different in terms of the context or the content, be that a resource at the handouts or even the breakout sessions. So
you've been going since 2009?
We have.
Yep. Does it get old?
No, not at all. I mean, like you say, you live in Alaska, it's expensive to travel, so a getaway, even if it's for 2 or 3 days, is amazing.
It starts on Friday night.
It does, yeah.
Can you kind of give us an idea of what the schedule will look like and tell us, do the couples have to stay at the Marriott?
Right, yeah. So you get there, as check-in starts as early as 5:30, I believe. So you can come and go as you wish in between that time, and then the conference actually starts at 7. And beyond that, there is a 2.5-hour session where you'll kind of just get an introduction to what the conference is about, get to meet the speakers and what have you. Then you'll wrap up for that evening. And then Saturday, you'll have an all-day event in which you'll have several breakouts, of course, for lunch and what have you. But you'll have all day, again, with each other. And then the emphasis on Saturday is the date night. So you're out about 4:30. So great to get out and do that. And then Sunday, again, you're there for about 3 or 4 hours, and then you're released. So great. Couples don't have to stay there. In fact, Ryan and I did not stay at the conference event for almost 2 years. We had younger kiddos, and, just obviously expenses can add up. So we made an emphasis, though, to stay on Saturday night because that is the date night. But no, couples definitely don't have to, but it's definitely available to you.
So speaking of discounts, Heidi, tell us a little bit about those opportunities that couples could take advantage of.
For sure. So just within the context of the hotel, as far as staying, the rate at the hotel, they offer a discount to Family Life. So you can take advantage of that. And again, that's through the Anchorage Downtown Marriott. If you go on the website, it's just www.familylife.com/weekend. And you can actually click on Anchorage, and that'll take you straight to the Marriott site. And it'll give you the discounted rate. Now, in terms of the registration for the event, It is separate than staying at the hotel. So again, when I talked about, obviously having to play into babysitting and all that stuff that can add up. So that there is several discounts, one of which we want to make sure is out there is pastoral staff, obviously serving a huge impact in our churches and obviously in our community can attend for free. So that's really neat. Obviously then it's just if you want to stay at the hotel, that's available to you. Don't have to. Our military base folks, I should say, actually do then get a discount there as well. And it's free for them to to register, rather. It's free to register. They have to be active duty, guard, or reserve to get that scholarship. And then there is also a group rate, which you get $100 off. So when you first get into the site, it can be a little bit confusing just because you're seeing this rate that's about $100 higher. But if you enter in the rate, which is AK Love, then you can get $100 off your discount. So a couple opportunities to save there. So military is free, pastoral full-time is free, and then there's a group rate to save off the registration.
What is the savings? You say it's free, but how much? How much is the savings there?
So if you don't use the group rate, it is a $249 group discount. So potentially you're saving $250 for those that can attend for free.
And the military, how would they purchase their tickets? Is there a special website for them, or can they go to the chaplains on the base?
The chaplains do have the resources available to them. There are certainly some folks that are within that entity that can help, but the easiest thing to do is just call 1-800-FL today, and that'll get them to the appropriate folks to sign up. You'll just let them know you're active duty, guard, or reserve, and let them know that you want to attend the Anchorage conference, and they'll get you signed up.
So, Heidi, if there's somebody listening out there that doesn't necessarily attend church and maybe isn't even a Christian, would you still recommend something like this to that couple?
Indefinitely. There is a basis, a blueprint for marriage, regardless of where they are, what stage, and even their beliefs. And that is that you essentially have to make marriage work. In order for it to be successful, it takes that divine entity, and that is God, and, He is at the center. And so I believe truly, and if you imagine a triangle, your husband is on one side, your wife is on the other, and God's in the center. And if you are drawing closer to that pivot point, which is God, the closer that you're going to get to each other. So irregardless of your belief, the blueprint is still there. And God will use that conference to bring you closer to each other.
Is this conference just for couples that are struggling?
No, not at all. In fact, that's why what's so cool, and you had asked earlier about you'd gone since 2009. Is there something different? Absolutely. Ryan and I have different takeaways, and I have each book from each year where I just start jotting stuff down like crazy. Always new opportunities. Obviously, again, hey, if this is your one date night for the month, what an awesome opportunity, because you're continuing to invest in something that's going to pay dividends big time. I definitely would continue to go, regardless of whether or not we were serving or not.
Heidi, tell us a little bit about this. How would you take what you learn at this getaway, the weekend to remember, and then apply it beyond just having that isolated weekend event? Because I can imagine, everything is great, especially if you're staying at the hotel. You're a little bit more isolated, able to really work on your marriage and concentrate on each other while you're there. But what would you say to the couple of how they can take that outside of that weekend and apply it to their daily lives?
Great question. So I think sometimes, again, we get lost in the mix of the day. What can you take away? It's daily. One, the whole premise behind the family life and the weekend to remember is that you're an impact, not within your own marriage so much as it is in the community. So coming away, at least for us, it's how can we invite other couples to attend next year? How can we take what we've learned and apply it to invite and invest in other couples? And then two, obviously for yourselves, this is like a car. So you both ladies have cars, right? Is that car going to run forever? No. What does it need to get to that point? Little maintenance, little TLC, right? Mm-hmm. Same context within the marriage. It has to happen. It's nothing that you're obviously putting that $2,000 little fuel pump into, but it is worth full dividends to take the time to get away, to invest in each other, gather those resources again, learn new things, and then come away and be able to share that with each other and likewise with other couples.
Mm-hmm.
Don't you think that couples have to view their marriage as a priority?
Amen, sister. Amen. I think it's hard because folks get to that, oh, it's great, everything's peachy, and then, you hear about it, couples are just like, what happened? How did we get to this point? we just get lost. And that's why I say it's a great illustration is that car model, because here we are going down the road and all of a sudden it dies. We don't know what happens. So yeah, absolutely. We have to invest. Otherwise, it can get stagnant or stale.
We've all heard stories of couples that have been married for 35 and 40 years, and then for whatever reason they decide to divorce, which to me is very, very sad. That should almost be illegal. Mm-hmm. Is there an average age, or maybe I should say an average of how many years married that couples will attend this?
So no, the very first part of the conference, they actually do something that's really cool. They get all the couples are obviously together in the room, and they ask for the newliest married couple. And then they also ask for the couple that's been married the longest. So shoot, I don't remember the last one rather, but I think the last couple this last year was married 55 years.
Yes.
So cool to see those folks that are there and have had that commitment and are still pursuing, still growing, still investing at those conferences away. And then likewise, the couples that are, I think we had one year that had just gotten married that Saturday. So cool.
Cammie, I know that you've been. Did you enjoy it?
We did. We certainly did. We were fairly young in our marriage. Well, I guess you could say at that midpoint, which is where a lot of couples start to experience that trouble. You can probably attest to that a little bit just in seeing what you've seen through that ministry. But we took advantage of attending and certainly enjoyed it. And I can say we had a baby within that next year, so it must have been really good.
That's funny. Well, takeaways. We'll leave that one on the side.
Right.
We'll just say it's an added perk. No, and it's cool. You walk in on Friday evening, at least for us that are on the volunteer staff, and we see couples coming in that are otherwise coming in separately or not looking at each other, not holding hands, that come out on Sunday after, I won't give it away. There's something cool that happens on Sunday, but after Sunday afternoon, and hands held, can't not touch each other, and have this renewed hope, and it's in their faces. I mean, it's so cool. And, I never want to take away, because there's obviously plenty of ministries out there and folks that are working daily to renew these families. But this conference is just cool for the state, because we need those getaways. We need more of events like this to come to Alaska and really get couples out of their element and make that investment. So, yeah.
Tell us a little bit how others can get involved to support couples attending this weekend to remember.
So real basic, I kind of like to break it down into two. So obviously our churches are the biggest point of contact for folks. They're going to know those couples that are struggling, either through counseling or likewise can just see some writing on the walls. Encourage them. Hey, this conference is here. Funds are available. Let me give you a scholarship. Likewise, youth groups. Hey guys, there's kids out there. There's military that are here that otherwise don't have that support network that could use your help to watch kiddos while they go to the conference that can't otherwise afford to go. Two is just getting the resources out to those folks. We have group coordinators that are within majority of the churches here in Anchorage and likewise all over the state that are bringing those brochures and materials out to those folks. Then go into families. Obviously, what can I do listening to this? Like I said, invite. Ask if you can help watch a kiddo. We have great folks out at our church at the Crossing that are willing to just take kids for the weekend. Do you want to leave your kid with a stranger? Hey, might want to. I don't know. Is your marriage that important? Do you trust the folks that are there? And likewise, how else can you invest? Like I said, just get out there, being willing to be the hands and feet and just see the need and help people.
Well, and I'm so glad you touched on that, Heidi, because I hadn't thought of this detail till you just mentioned that. But we were fairly new to Anchorage. We had come from Fairbanks and even new to our church. But this family stepped up and was willing to watch our children because we have absolutely no family here and no support system in that regard. So what a blessing it is. If that is all you can do, don't think of it as that's all I'm doing. It is a huge blessing to be able to do that for somebody.
Yeah, for some couple that may not otherwise be able to attend. And like I said, even like we talked about with not being able to stay at the hotel, if you're able to do one night and somebody does another, you've just freed up 3 days, 2-3 days potentially for that couple to take that money and invest it elsewhere, i.e. the conference, resources to take back with them, studies to do, even just a fancy dinner where they can kind of rekindle that, what was lost. So way cool.
Absolutely. Do you want to share a little bit with us about what you are doing now?
Sure.
And how God is continuing to use you in some other roles and ministries as well.
Yeah, so right now I'm actually doing a study, The Power of a Praying Wife, and that is purely self-directed. I've done the study a couple of times on my own, and I mentioned earlier I am a busy working mom full time. So for me, trying to get physically to a Bible study is difficult. So I actually took the study guide as well as, obviously the reading, and just said, hey, ladies, to my group that are at the crossing, I'm doing the study by myself. Anyone want to join? Here's Facebook. Here's how I'm doing it. And thankfully, I think we have like 27 ladies that have jumped on.
Amazing.
So it's way cool. I mean, because you would think within the context of having a live study at a facility, who's going to do it on Facebook? But yeah, 27 gals are like, you know what? I can read 3 chapters a week or 1 chapter a week. I can do the coursework and I can invest in praying for my husband. So just another outlet. Obviously, like I said, I physically can't be there. So
what does that look like as far, because I have not ever done an online Bible study. So you do the reading and then what? Do you guys all kind of try to meet online together, or do you just kind of engage on maybe the private page as you can, or tell us about that?
I just created a group, so it's a private, you have to be invited only. I go ahead and set up a reading plan. So right now we're doing 3 chapters, every 8 days or so. And I will post whatever chapter it is through an event link or invite. And then I'll go ahead and post the study guide questions that way. So certainly the dialogue is open. It's one of those things, though, here too, where I like to make sure we're very upfront in saying, this is to be edifying, this is to build, this is to not cut down or degrade any of our husbands. So certainly the forum is open, but I find that a lot of folks are really taking that kind of self-look, or wives rather, are taking that self-look and saying, okay, now how do I use this? And I go forward. So venue is there, outlet is there, not as much dialogue as it is just making the resources available. If you've studied that, you can kind of understand. Stormy's books are awesome. Awesome.
Yes, I've done The Power of a Praying Wife, but I have a confession to make. Like you, I also was trying to change my husband. And I thought, okay, I've tried everything else. Why don't I try prayer? To see if that will work. But I saw the very first chapter of that book, and I thought, no. Yeah. I'm not going to do that one yet.
That one's steep.
So I skipped the first chapter, and I went to chapter 2, and chapter 3, and chapter 4, and then I felt convicted. I had to go back to chapter 1 because the first chapter, do you know what it's about?
I do.
It's the praying for your husband's wife.
That's right. Owning it is what I say. You need to own it. And if you don't, it makes that course in and of itself a little more difficult because you are, again, kind of like when I was getting ready for that weekend, I was looking at change him, instead of really looking inward and saying, you know what, God, what are you going to do through me and how am I going to impact my husband through that?
And that's what I found to be true. Most of the changing came through me.
Yep, amen.
And the way I viewed my husband and my role in the marriage, and it changed the way I prayed for him. And I always thought that was funny. I couldn't do the first chapter for a long time.
Yeah.
But when I went back and began to pray for my husband's wife, which was me, all the changes. God made the changes in my heart. And so I viewed my marriage and my husband differently, which made all the difference in the world.
Doesn't it? It's so cool when God comes through like that. And it's so simple, too. You think of it like, why have I been holding on to that so long? And like I said, within the weekend, within the course study, sometimes it's just us giving up and saying, take it, God, run. And that's what it took for me anyways.
As Beth Moore says, duck.
Exactly.
Let God do the work. Get out of the way.
Ryan says he got hit by a 2x4. I say I got more like a 4x6. So I have a big noggin.
So can women still, sorry, Betty, women still join this study that you're doing online?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah. In fact, if you just go into Facebook and you search Power of a Praying Wife, AK, you can ask to be invited to the group there. Of course, I think we're chapter 18 at this point, but it's definitely available to you. And again, it's something I started by myself. So ladies, grab the book yourselves, grab a few folks that you can meet for coffee or even online and do it that way as well. Happy to show you kind of what we used for a model, but yeah.
Heidi, is there anything else that you would like to tell our audience about Weekend to Remember?
Like I shared, whether or not you're going to the weekend, whether or not you're attending some event at your church, the art of marriage, or any of those other studies, it's just to invest. Don't let that car die on the road. Don't let your marriage go idle or stale. And ladies, we got to own it. It starts with you. If it's that bitterness or resentment or withholding, take it, own it, and see what God will do to change it so that you can bring light to your marriage.
Will you tell us again the dates and where it's at?
Yep, April 22nd through the 24th. And it is at the Anchorage Downtown Marriott. And you can just go to the website if you need more information. It is www.familylife.com/weekend. Otherwise, you can call the number, and folks are more than happy to help you. It's 800-FL-TODAY.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Again, we've got Heidi here, Director with Family Life and the Weekend to Remember, and we certainly appreciate all of the details and just bringing awareness to this awesome event coming up and getting word out about it. Thank you again for joining us today on Living Well. You can find us here every Wednesday at 1 p.m. on KATB 89.3 in Anchorage, as well as KJLP 88.9 in Palmer. You can also catch us online at katb.org. Find us again here next Wednesday. Thank you.